Jesse Chason with Lisa Blanchard as the host of Airing Addiction.
I share often my journey started on this campus. Got sober as a client here, just like you.
I really do see phenomenal change.
Always hope. I've seen situations that on the surface look impossible become possible.
Doing this podcast is to share those recovery stories, be honest about what the challenges are and have some real conversations, but kind of share that out on the airwaves.
And welcome everybody to another edition of Airing Addiction. I'm very happy to be here. My name is Jesse Chason. I'm here with my co-host Lisa Blanchard. Good afternoon, Lisa.
Good afternoon, Jesse. Happy to have you back here co-hosting. I'm really excited to have you. I'm also really excited for our guest today. And so those who are in the recovery field and supporting those with addiction may know that this month is April and Alcohol Awareness Month. And so this is part of why we chose this fantastic guest and such a inspiring story. And so without kind of further ado, I'd like to introduce, our guest, Mike Welsch, and ask Mike if you want to share, as much of your story as you're kind of comfortable. Start wherever you'd like.
Okay. So thank you for having me. And thank you for doing something positive and great about alcoholics, alcoholism. And because there's a field out there that needs a lot of help, and I don't know where else you get it, but through, rehabs and Alcoholics Anonymous. And as you mentioned, this is Alcoholics Anonymous Awareness Month. And, it's sometimes it's it's not a easy, thing to talk about. And as we're going like sort of live, it's different because of, usually it's anonymous and you're in a group, and that's how I was doing it for 33 years.
Awesome. Mike, if I could just interrupt briefly, it is Alcohol Awareness Month. It's obviously Alcoholics Anonymous is one way to sober, and it's a completely anonymous program. This is in celebration of Alcohol Awareness Month to bring the awareness to those listening now, those watching now. We thought your story would be perfect to share some awareness to what alcohol can do, but also what people can do in recovery and sort of overcome these obstacles.
All right. Oh, I appreciate that, Jesse. Am I live now?
Yes.
Wow. So yeah, because it's anonymous. I believe in that. That part of the program it's anonymous. As I was getting a lot of press through my athletics, they asked me. They said, just don't mention Alcoholics Anonymous.
Exactly.
In your speech, I just did it. So I didn't, it just didn't dawned on me, like I have to be anonymous, it has to, that's how it works, So I just blew that, But yeah, so alcoholism awareness, right?
Yes,
correct.
So that's that's awesome. I mean, whatever we can do for this disease, I think is going in the right direction, because every day we lose individuals through this disease, and people need help. And there's no magic pill, and there's no one-term thing. It's a consistent of of working it every day, and being aware of it, the awareness of it and stuff, So, thanks for having me. And my my recovery was, I guess now I'm kind of like, I don't know what to say with about Alcoholics Anonymous, but it saved my life, So if I could save that, and I went to it on a regular basis, and I'm very grateful for that. And I want to, I don't want to go out of the guidelines of Alcoholics Anonymous, which they ask. And through 33 years, I respected that, and I said, if you want to do a story on me, and you can tell them I quit drinking, but you can't tell them I go to Alcoholics Anonymous. You can't bring it up because that's what they asked me, and I'm just bringing it up now. So I don't know what I'm doing.
That's all right. So why don't we shift gears a bit to hear a little bit more of your story, right? So where your story started, which was years ago now, right? Many years ago now, but had some real significant challenges that were related to alcohol use. Do you want to share a little bit about that story?
Sure. What's what story of my accident?
However much you want. So, from what I know, that sounds like something pretty tragic happened to you when you were under the influence of alcohol. And so maybe even, sharing a little bit of kind of what happened and what that shifted for you and what you've done with kind of taking your tragedy and supporting others and bringing awareness through some of the amazing athletic feats that you've been able to accomplish.
Yeah. Sure. It's like I said, it's a little confusing now. I should have did a demo with you or whatever. But I grew up in Dorchester, and everybody drank, and so that's all I wanted to do, is because I wanted to be like the big kids, And some people I found out can't drink, and some people can, and I can't. So, and I had my problems, and it went up to high school, and then from high school, I was getting into problems with of drinking in school once, and then it went on to the Marine Corps, and I said, I'm going to go in the Marines, and I'm going to become a man, and I am not going to drink like I did, But sure, then I got stationed in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. I found people that were drinking like me, and I started drinking like them. And, my drinking was always like, oh, let me have one more. It was always one more, And the next thing you know is, I'm blacking out, So I can't just have one, that's the bottom line. And through many instances, I found out that I blacked out, and I did things I didn't want to do. And one day from the Marines, I went out and I drank. We came back. I got my motorcycle. I went back out, and the next thing you know was I was getting chased by the police. And I went into this roadblock. I slid my bike. I turned around. And I got hit by the cop. It was 75 miles an hour. And 3 months later, I lost my leg. And I said I would never ever drink after that. Never. And I meant it. And we used to go in the EM club with our wheelchairs. And the first time I went, I said, no, I don't drink. This is why I'm in a chair, blah, blah, blah. This is my fault of my accident. Second time, someone the third time threw a beer to me. And the next thing you know was I drank it. Then the next thing you know, they're asking me to leave the hospital, and I said, then it was the poor me's, like, if you were in the hospital, if you got hit by a car, got 80 miles an hour, you'd be drinking too. Or if you, I had, it wasn't like, it was just, I just felt real sorry for myself at that time. And I had to move on. And, I went into, I started in AA in the VA, and I got there, and the next thing you know is, I don't even know if I should have brought that up. So I did that, and, the next thing you know is, I just looked in there and I said, these people are too old for me. And I'm too young. I'm 19 years old. I can't be an alcoholic. I'm too young. I ain't from World War II career. And so I would, judge them. And I'm saying, the next thing you know is I started drinking, and, and then what I do when I drink, I black out, and I ended up finally stopping drinking. I was going up to Kennebunkport, Maine, into the school, and my girlfriend said that she had enough. And the next thing you know was I looked in the mirror, I was like crying, and I said, it's nothing to do with her. It's all about my drinking. And I walked up into a meeting, and I started there. And my life, it started to change. I just felt really great, that this is my problem. I have one problem, and it's the first drink of alcohol. If I pick up that first drink, it's all over. And so, from there, things changed, You have another question?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a powerful story. And what strikes me about it is, as tragic as that accident was, as tragic as painful as it probably was, all of that, it still wasn't enough right then, right? It's not like you just stopped drinking right at that moment, right at that point of the accident. Yeah. That it took. And that's common for people, right? It takes a lot of attempts at trying to do things differently, maybe going to a meeting, seeing if it's for you, not thinking it is at first, right? Not thinking you're in that category, not thinking that you're with, people that are similar to you in any way. And so you go back out, right? And then you have to keep trying. And I think what's inspiring about that is that that's what a lot of people's paths are, right? It's most people, it takes multiple kinds of, realizations and multiple attempts to work towards recovery. And I just appreciate that about your story.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah. It's hard just to try to do this podcast and then without bringing AA into it, so, and I don't like, they asked me that thing, New York City, AA, and they said, just don't bring it into it. And I never did. So, I don't know what to say, sort of, or what line to.
Well, I have a question for you, Mike.
Travel.
So you said that 19 years old, you get in this tragic accident, and then you're saying, I'm never going to drink again. This is why I'm in this wheelchair. This is why I lost my leg. And then you go back to drinking for a period of time. How old were you when you finally put down alcohol for good?
I had another bike accident, lost my fake leg. It went on. It was like I had denial embedded in my head that nobody could change it. And, I had to fall a few times, and I had to be, well, I've been sober now for 33 years. So 1990, I got very, very serious with it. And, from doing what I've done, I'm just going to keep doing it, and if I can help somebody, that's a big thing, to show them in the right direction, which was with this kind of younger guy. And I gave him this little job to do this painting, and he goes, "I'm going home. I'll be back." He came back. He was damn shit-faced. And I said, it didn't even make me mad. I go, "But I ain't paying you. Look at the wall, But, and I called him up. I said, come to a meeting with me, I'm still kind of working on him. So, but when he's ready, he's ready. I mean, I wasn't ready. I was in denial. So I used to get, really I brought this guy home from, got him out of jail early. And he's, the thing was he had to go to meetings, and I took him to meetings, and, he was back doing drugs, and he was on the street. And I said, "I'll never, ever do that again," and, so every little circumstance has its own time that you have to, some people never get it, but, there's a lot of people that get it because they're having meetings all over the world, and people are doing it because this is the only way I know how to do it,
Yeah. So sort of switch gears a little bit, Mike. So you get serious about this. You push through your denial, and you're staying sober. I read a lot of articles about you and your various athletic triumphs and endurance athletics. Where did that sort of come in? How did that become a part of your recovery?
Well, it happened on the Cape at my mother's. What I saw this athletic event, and I said, "Geez, I want to go do that," And of course I was full of fear in that, but I couldn't do it that day because it was already over. So I had a whole year. And the following year, I joined on to the Pan Mass Challenge. And, I used to work out, go to meetings, work out, and then I'd get frustrated or something. I'd get on my bike, I would pedal to Hyannis, to P-Town, see the sign, enter in Providence Town. I would turn around and I would go home. And by the time I got home, I would go to a meeting, or I wouldn't want to drink, and it was part of training, and it was part of my mental health. I was I worked out. It was healthy. I tried to eat right, and I did that frequently. And then it started to bring me into athletic competition, which was a whole dynamic of a different group of events that I have to do and have to accomplish. There's a lot of fear in there, of how to do this. I remember the first day I went to the swimming pool, and I had to take my leg off and put it beside the pool. And I thought everybody in that pool was looking right at my leg. And that's the way I felt. And now it's like I can't believe I did. I used to think like that, but that's the way it was. So I had to override my fears, and believe in my dreams, and work them both together.
That's so awesome. So hearing you talk about kind of for you were working out, going to meetings, and that it really supported your mental health. We've heard other guests talk about that, right? And we hear these recovery stories all the time, that there's this real mind-body connection with recovery. and that one of the ways that can really support whole person wellness, which is what you need in recovery, right? It's not just not drink, right? It's taking care of yourself, is to replace that a bit, right, with healthier behaviors, right? And training for some of these competitions that you've done. I mean, it takes a lot of time, but it takes a lot of mindset and kind of mental discipline, right? In order to keep riding that bike from Hyannis to Provincetown, turn around. Couldn't imagine that. That's super long. I don't even like to drive in the car for that trip, or to complete a marathon. Like I've never gone past 7 miles myself. I just think it takes a lot of kind of mental training that I'm sure, must have really supported your recovery.
Yeah. Yeah, right. It's my thing, someone told me a long time ago that was, there's good addictions and there's bad addictions. Mm-hmm. And you hop on a good addiction. After you finish it, you feel good. You hop on a bad addiction, you don't feel that good. So I ran with that and little things like just kept, if you can dream it, you can become it, and I never thought that was true. I never thought it would happen for me, but I proved myself wrong. I had when I finished the Boston Marathon, I had Mayor Menino waiting for me with a certificate.
Wow.
And he goes, called his aide and he says, well, where the hell is he? He goes, Jesus, Mayor, the guy's only got one leg. He's getting here. He told me that. I cracked up, but he waited for me. But I was always coming in last. For my running, but not for my swimming. Yeah, so a lot to be grateful for. And that's where it came from. Put my leg beside the pool, getting on my bike, going for a bike ride. All the small things. People say you do all the small things in life, and they add up. They add up quickly, and they really do. You got to get up. You got to brush your teeth. You got to comb your hair. You got to take a shower. You got to do all these small things, to get you through out that door. So
the small things equal the big things.
Yeah.
I just heard you say, Mike, you referenced multiple marathons. So if I can ask you, how many different marathons have you ran at this point?
I ran 11 Bostons.
Wow.
But one was disputed because of the bombing. They stopped me. And they stopped many people.
It stopped everyone at that point, yeah. That's amazing, 11 Boston Marathons. And are you still currently running marathons? What are you doing currently as far as athletic endurance sports?
I am a marathon swimmer, and I'm still swimming. I was just on the phone with this lady from Newfound Lake. She has the intermission swim with the Navy SEALs sponsor it, and I've done that before. And she was wondering if I'm coming back up there. And I actually asked her, I go, which one do you want me to do? Is it 1, a 3, or a 6 mile? And that lake, 6 years ago, I swam the whole lake, the whole length of Newfound Lake. And I just love that lake. That's supposedly the cleanest lake in New Hampshire. And I totally agree with that.
So still swimming, after all these years, it's just so impressive, right? So, doing one marathon swim, doing like some of those are kind of end goals for anybody, or even considering that. And you've just done it, kind of multiple times. And I think I think it's a great, example of what recovery can bring you, right? That if you can kind of get through the obstacles that you've gotten through, you can get through the obstacles to keep doing the, endurance athletic work. Like you can keep pushing through because that it's possible. And I think in some ways, I feel like folks who have entered recovery know that more than others who haven't, right? They understand that and appreciate it differently, and have higher capacity to achieve great things.
I think so too. I think that I tell them, I go in, like in a meeting, I tell them that there's something special about us all here. We got something inside of us that's driven, and you just got to find it, because we do some amazing things in recovery, and I know some amazing. I know this guy, he blew out a friggin' mountain up in Western Mass and built a racetrack. It's on bridges, elevation, only elevated racetrack in the area. I mean, he had a vision, and to me, he's an entrepreneur. It's like, so, I mean, other people too. This guy told me he's homeless. He was homeless, and he was, for like 2 years he was homeless. And the next thing you know was, he goes, yeah, I got 10 people working for me, and he goes, that black Jag out front, that's mine. I said, oh. I go, how did you do this? He goes, one day at a time.
Yeah.
I mean, you open your eyes, you can get inspired by a lot of people, that are right around you. I take bits and pieces out of a lot of people. Here's one of my heroes right here. Can you see this?
Yeah. Yeah. Tell us about that.
That's Harold Russell. He's the only one ever in the history of the movie industry to get 2 Oscars for one movie.
Wow.
And he lived in Centerville. He used to come down and watch me in the triathlons, and I didn't even know it. And he waited for me right here at Boston. That was me and him in Boston.
Yeah.
He waited for me in Boston. Then he passed, and he told me, he goes, Michael, go run the marathon. And he told me this when I lived on the Cape, and I'll never forget that. It was like he was the president of disabled veterans. He was just such a great guy. I held his Oscars. So I was like, can you get inspired by that?
Of course. I mean, I'm Mike, I'm getting inspired by you right now. You hit the nail on the head about us being driven, us in recovery. And I personally feel that it's because we have to overcome so much just to get into recovery. You shared briefly about your experience wanting to, go to the Marines to be a man, and then drinking became involved, and obviously a horrific accident, and then, continued. So you have to overcome so much. You had mentioned denial just to get into recovery. And then it's almost like we ask ourselves, well, I overcame that. What else can I overcome? And it starts with that one swim, that one bike ride, that one run. And, you mentioned good addictions and bad addictions, and I could identify with that a lot. One of my good addictions is when I got into recovery, I got into school. I never thought I'd go to college. And, I come from a lived experience point of view on this podcast with my own recovery experience being a client of Spectrum's many years ago now, over a decade ago now, which is still crazy to think of. But, if one of my professors ever watch or listen to this, she might smile at this question because it comes from a clinical background. I'm studying right now the whole lifespan development, advanced principles of lifespan development. And we were just talking in class last night about older athletics and people that, pick up running when they're 100, and why do they do that? And, there's just like you had mentioned, there's a whole nother section of endurance athletics and competitions. There's many different subgenres of that. And my question to you is, how do you continue to find the motivation to do what you're doing?
Great question, Jesse. Yeah. Every day you got to get up, you got to do the small things, and get out the door. And if you don't do that, and sometimes I couldn't get out of a bed, I'd walk around Mocus, and how I find it through, like I mentioned, Jesse, different people. I get the different things, different people inspire me. I have so many people inspired me. Marvelous Marvin Hagel, I have a thing on him. Cal Brashaw. You know who Cal Brashaw was? He was a chief black Navy diver, and Cuba Gooding and Robert De Niro played him in Men of Honor. If you ever get a chance to see that movie, well, I corresponded, and he was, I don't know if you can see that, but he signed that and he sent that back to me. And, cool. He motivates me. One other time, I got a ton of people. Well, my friend Joe Bellino, Heisman Trophy winner. He went fishing with me. I don't know if you can see that, handicap fishing group. He sat on my couch. He just passed on. God bless him. People like that would inspire me. And if I wasn't even in contact with him and I saw something, what they did, Herschel Walker, I never met him. He's an inspiring guy. And it goes on and on. I just say, well, these people are doing these things. Let me do my little piece,
So it sounds like you're saying kind of never stop being inspired by others and never stop working towards something yourself. Right?
Exactly.
Like that's such a great message. And one of the things I wanted to highlight in this podcast is that, you've had lots of feats, right? Like, so, the full lengths of lakes, long marathon swims, of course, the Boston Marathon, all the long, PMS and bike rides. And some people would just take that and be like, yeah, I'm awesome. I did that. But one of the things that I've noted in a lot of the media that has come out about you is that you always take the opportunity to kind of raise awareness, right? So it's not just about you, it's about the broader issue of, alcohol and alcohol awareness and, drunk driving and those kinds of things. And can you talk to us a little bit about, why that's so important to you?
Basically, Lisa, is that, I'm dying to give it to somebody. This is, when I walk into a meeting and I'm talking to them, I got this right in here. It doesn't matter how big my wallet is or whatever. If you get some of this, you get to learn, you get to chase your dreams. You gotta go to, you can go to school. You have the opportunity to go to school. You have the opportunity to work out. You have the opportunity to do athletic events. You can do whatever you want. And so I could see, the people's eyes, who's listening, the deepest, and that's who I was. I couldn't listen to myself because it would have got me drunk again, you know? So I think that's important to try to give it back, you know? And that's why the halls are full. They're full with people, you know, and they're doing great things, and they're getting better, and you know, it's you know, it's a vicious disease. It really is, and some people's family experience it worse than others. And it'll probably always be, it's like that big elephant in that corner. We ain't going to talk about it. You know, we don't talk about it, you know. And I lost a brother from alcoholism, and my family could have had a whole different direction, you know. But the only thing I could do is I stopped it now. I stopped it through me. And to be a power of example is the number one thing. You know, and you know, I have two kids, and one's an electrician, and one's she's an accountant, and you know, they don't have what I got. I don't know how. I don't know why. I don't care, because if that was them, if that was me, then I would have been in a lot of trouble, because that was my history, you know. And I'd say, no, I wouldn't do this. I want to be the right guy. I want to be that. I want to help people. You know, I want to, you know, and it wasn't happening. I couldn't help myself get off the bar stool without falling, you know. It's, you know, and that's where my big dreams were. And to take them dreams and to turn them to reality, I knew I had to stop drinking and doing drugs. I just knew it. You know, there's nothing was going to accomplish.
And I appreciate your givingness of your story, right? You share it. Sometimes we've talked before about you showing that in treatment programs or in correctional settings. And it just strikes me as, you know, the longer I do this work, the more folks in long-term recovery that I meet, it really strikes me that they are probably the most giving people that exist, right? That individuals in recovery, you know, want to just, you know, have others see what they have what they have, you know, in their own way, right? Their own special talents, their own special kind of dreams, but that aspect of kind of giving of yourself and giving that kind of message of recovery away, I think is wonderful.
Thanks. Yeah, there was, when you mentioned the correctionals, like I was in this meeting, and this guy came up to me and he goes, Mike, thank you. That was awesome. You know, like 3 months ago, I go, oh yeah, what was it? He goes, I was in the Bill Ricker House of Correction. You came in and you spoke, and I never forgot what you said. And I said, wow, that's powerful stuff, you know? And, you know, I didn't go to him, or he came up to me. I don't even know who he was, you know? So it's like, we have to pass it on. I love doing ad care up in Worcester. I really feel there, because I was up in detox up there, and I tell them people, I go, I know how you feel. I know what you're going through, because you can't tell me I don't. I was upstairs. I knew what happened, and I know all the emotions, and things can be different from you. You can make that decision right now. You never, ever have to get sober again. It's guaranteed. You know where it's guaranteed? Look in all the halls. They're doing it one day at a time.
Exactly, Mike. And as you're talking, and even Lisa brought it up, you know, just all the service work that you do, whether it be speaking at Ad Care or, you know, in Bill Ricker House of Correction. You know, I'm reminded of a common recovery saying, you can only keep it by giving it away. And I think you're a prime example of that. You know, not only the peace and serenity that I see coming through the screen of you just sitting there on your couch, relaxed, where it could be a very different story, but also the joy of not knowing, who's even going to hear this and get inspired from it, or, who you speak to. And it could be just a quick little, 2-minute conversation, but something in that could be used for greater good. And that's why I think it's so important for you to keep doing what you're doing, not only with the endurance piece of it, but also, keep sharing your story on vehicles like this and others to keep inspiring people.
Thank you, Jesse.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I think that's inherent in the reason we do this podcast, right? Is to share the hope of recovery, right? That's a common theme that I don't think we've had a single podcast where that hasn't come up in some way, shape, or form. And I think especially here, talking to you today, right, that there is hope. It doesn't matter kind of where you are now. It doesn't know that anybody listening now that has been, in really tough places, has tried multiple times, is in multiple treatment episodes, that next day could be different. Right. And then you could be, 33 years out having accomplished some unbelievable things, in your recovery and whatever path you choose. And hearing these recovery stories is really why we do this podcast, and really why for alcohol awareness, I think it was helpful for us not just to talk about the risks, the dangers, right? Like I do that stuff all the time when I educate people on addiction, but to talk about the recovery and to talk about the hope. I think is what's really, makes a big impact.
And it helped me through doing my woodworking, which is another hobby. I say, I want to make this, I want to make that, and I never made nothing. And I got sober, and I built a house. I made my furniture. Can you see that piece there?
Yeah.
You made that
table.
Jeez.
Etc. But I mean, it's like you do things. You want to do things. You gotta. I've renovated this whole house. It's like there's no stopping us.
Yeah.
Just we take the booze out of. We're great people.
Yeah.
And everything you do is huge, right? Like go big or go home. We don't just run 5Ks, we run marathons. We don't just, do small woodworking projects. You do houses and houses full of furniture. Like it's amazing.
Mike, I can identify with you 100%. Before we went live here, I told you I'm on paternity leave, just coming back, gifts of recovery, 6-week-old at home. And just ask my wife, there's so many different house projects that I've done, from, ceilings and drywall to paint to put a new front door on the house, just all this stuff.
Good for you.
And in one way, it's like
save all that money too.
Exactly. Right. You get to spend time with family and get to do it. And I can identify with the go big or go home. Right.
Yeah.
In a positive way, we can use that same drive or motivation that we had on the bar stool, where we told all those great stories. I'm going to do this and all.
Exactly.
Right? We can use
great
it in a
dreamer
way and be able to, sit there in your living room with the TV stand that you built and the coffee table you built, and just look at it and remember all the time and work that went into doing that, and the satisfaction of a job well done.
Yeah. And nothing gets done at the bar room. And I had to experience that for 2 years, and hopefully, somebody's going to say, hey, I ain't going to do it. I want to do all this stuff, and then my garden outside. One more thing I'm going to show you.
Yeah, cool.
And he's a gardener too, Lisa. I mean, this guy
just added to the list.
Really go big.
You see out here?
Yeah, I can see just fine. Wow. Also, another good example of this isn't just a tiny little garden. This is like huge garden.
Like I would call that a hill, not a garden, but I applaud you for your green thumb.
It was a disaster, but now I got 3 beds in there, and I don't know.
Awesome. That's so great.
Beautiful, Mike.
I gotta tell you, Mike, this has been such a treat to get to know you and to have this conversation. I think you've inspired me. And I know you've got a lot of people that you inspire, but I just want to make sure you know that that you inspire a lot of people too. And so I'm hopeful that by this podcast, others will hear your story and be inspired too. And then kind of build their own gardens, build their own furniture, run their own marathon. So I just really want to thank you for being with us today.
Do whatever they want. They can dream. Yep. Look at Fred. He blew a mountain apart and built a racetrack.
Yeah.
It's his name, but he inspires me. I'm saying, how did you do this? How did you walk into 300 acres and blow out a mountain and build a racetrack?
Well, you said it, Mike. You do it one step at a time by doing the small things, right? You don't just wake up one day and blow up a mountain and build a racetrack on it. You don't just wake up one day and see a hill that's all grown to overgrown and say, I'm going to build a garden here. You do the small things, and then eventually those small things add up.
We can do it. I recommend totally whatever, just take a little piece and start running with it. The next thing you know is, it was like I swam around New York City, and I used to put up a picture of New York City in my room, and with all the bridges and everything. And I just said, one step at a time. And I went to I've been swimming in the pool, and then I go to Walden, and from Walden, it doesn't happen overnight. But if you grab your dream, you hang it on your wall, you look at it every day. If it's building a piece of furniture, like design of that, or going on this vacation. You want to go on this vacation. I want to go to Arizona. So you hang it up in your room, and you say, I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there. I'm going to climb the mountains and do this and that. And that's my friend swam the English Channel. He had the big English Channel in his bedroom, and friend John, he sure in hell, he came. He went, he conquered, and he came home.
Amazing. Well, I think this is a great spot to kind of wrap up. I just thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks for sharing your story. Thanks for doing all that you do, right? Leading by example and spreading that awareness. And so, any last minute thoughts, Jesse?
No, I echo your sentiment. Thank you very much, Mike, for sharing your story. You inspired me to go out there and do the small things and just focus, one step at a time, and anything can be accomplished. So I thank you for your time today, Mike.
You're welcome, Jesse.
All right. Thank you so much. And thanks everybody for listening. If you liked this podcast, you want to hear more recovery stories, you want to hear more, issues in addiction, that's what we're here to talk about. So feel free to like and subscribe to our podcast.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks
Bye.
so much. Bye.